Canucks Nation, are you ready for another gut punch? Are you prepared to witness the slow, agonizing unraveling of your team's most vital asset, a player who embodies the very future of this franchise? Because right now, a chilling silence hangs over Vancouver, a silence that whispers of a potential nightmare scenario that could send shockwaves through the hockey world. We're talking about Quinn Hughes, your captain, your superstar defenseman, and the very heartbeat of the Vancouver Canucks. Is it possible that the mere musings of a brother, combined with a franchise's historical instability and a roster teetering on the edge, could be enough to pry him away from the West Coast? The question isn't if you should be worried, it's how worried you should be. Because the cards the Canucks hold in this high-stakes game are looking increasingly flimsy. For a fan base born on tilt, a fan base that has weathered more storms than a coastal lighthouse, the current situation around Quinn Hughes feels eerily familiar, a haunting echo of past heartbreaks. It started innocently enough, with a few idle quotes from Jack Hughes, Quinn's brother and the dynamic center for the New Jersey Devils. Jack, in a moment of familial candor, expressed a completely natural desire to play alongside his two brothers. On the surface, it's a heartwarming thought, a dream shared by many siblings. But in the hypersensitive ecosystem of Canucks fandom, where every whisper can ignite a wildfire of speculation, these words landed like a bombshell. Quinn, ever the composed leader, was quick to temper the excitement, putting his brother's musings in their place. He didn't declare himself taillights in 2027, but his response, while reassuring on the surface, lacked the fervent, unequivocal declaration of lifelong loyalty that might truly calm the storm. And that, my friends, is where the real worry begins. The Canucks, despite having their captain under contract until 2027, hold exactly 0 cards when it comes to keeping Quinn Hughes around for the entirety of his career beyond that. 0. What they do hold, however, is a handful of themselves, a history of organizational missteps, and a roster that, frankly, offers little long-term certainty. This isn't just about a brotherly wish. This is about the confluence of a superstar's ambition, a rising salary cap, and a franchise's struggle to build a consistent winner. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the potential for a mass Canucks fan meltdown feels not just possible, but increasingly probable. Let's cut through the noise with Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the right one. Quinn Hughes and his agent are likely watching the market with laser focus, specifically the impending contract extension of Cale Makar with the Colorado Avalanche next summer. Makar, a generational talent, is expected to reset the market for defensemen, potentially breaking the bank at $16 million per year or more. While Hughes may not have revolutionized the position in the exact same way Makar has, his importance and ability place him, at worst, only half a rung below Makar. In terms of pure puck-moving prowess, they are the two preeminent defensemen in the league, a fact that is beyond question. If Makar signs for $16 million, it's not a stretch to imagine Hughes walking into the Canucks front office and demanding no less than $15 million annually. The money in a rising cap environment shouldn't be the ultimate problem for Vancouver. They can and likely will pay him. But as we've seen with other superstars like Connor McDavid in Edmonton, the checks aren't the only thing being observed. Hughes, like any elite athlete, is observing more than just the zeros on his future paychecks. He's looking at the organizational standard, the commitment to winning, and the palpable direction of the franchise. And what has he seen in Vancouver? A team that, for much of last season, was puking up its own stomach acids. A team that has made the proper playoffs only once in his 7 seasons. Let's mercifully exclude the Bubble Dome from this discussion. That's hardly a ringing endorsement of organizational excellence or a clear path to contention. A player of Hughes's caliber doesn't just want to be paid. He wants to win, to compete for the ultimate prize. And the Canucks, for all their flashes of brilliance, have not exactly wowed him with their organizational standard. Consider the recent history, a saga that speaks volumes about the internal turmoil that has plagued this team. We're talking about the infamous Elias Pettersson/J.T. Miller War of the Roses, a conflict that was allowed to fester and rot so deeply within the locker room that it ultimately necessitated shipping Miller out of town. The sheer dysfunction, the inability of the coaching staff and front office to manage such a critical internal dynamic is a glaring red flag. This isn't the kind of stable, harmonious environment that convinces a superstar to commit his prime years. It speaks to a lack of decisive leadership and a pervasive organizational instability that must weigh heavily on Hughes's mind. If Quinn Hughes were to cast his gaze a little further down the road, to envision what the rest of his career might look like on the Pacific Coast, the view is frankly rather bleak. Beyond Elias Pettersson, who is still in his prime, the core players on this Canucks roster are largely over the age of 28 or 29. Brock Boeser, recently re-upped, remains the subject of nonstop "Is he elite?" discussions, a debate that drives both fans and analysts to the brink of insanity. Building a long-term plan around waiting for Boeser's shooting percentage to spike again is not a solid foundation for sustained success. Jake DeBrusk and Connor Garland are fine role players, gritty contributors, but they are not the kind of linchpins around whom a contending team is built. They are complementary pieces, not foundational cornerstones. The situation on the blue line beyond Hughes himself is even more concerning. While Philip Hronek has proven to be a capable partner, providing some stability, the depth behind them is, to put it mildly, lacking. The description of bong water in Tyler Myers and Marcus Pettersson might be harsh, but it speaks to a perceived lack of high-end talent and consistency. And while Thatcher Demko at 29 is still a top-tier goaltender, the aging curve for goalies, while more forgiving than for skaters, still means he's closer to the back half of his prime than the beginning. In essence, the Canucks' long-term outlook beyond Hughes and Pettersson appears murky at best and potentially barren at worst. This is not the kind of supporting cast that inspires confidence in a player who wants to win championships. Now, let's allow ourselves to get a little devious, to peer into an alternative future, one that must surely be on Quinn Hughes' radar. A glance at the New Jersey Devils' salary cap situation 2 years down the road reveals a staggering $60+ million available. Furthermore, Dougie Hamilton, their veteran defenseman, will be entering the final year of his deal, making him a movable asset should the need arise. Imagine the allure for Quinn Hughes, not only playing alongside his brothers Jack and Luke, but also joining a core that includes Nico Hischier, Brett Pesce, Jesper Bratt, and Timo Meier, all locked in for a significant period. This is a team with a clear, young, and exciting trajectory. While the Devils have had their wonky moments over the past couple of seasons, the foundational pieces are undeniably more secure and promising than what the Canucks are currently rocking. It offers a vision of stability, a clear path to contention, and the ultimate dream of playing with family. This isn't just a simple contract negotiation, it's a profound choice that will define the rest of Quinn Hughes' career and, by extension, the immediate future of the Vancouver Canucks. If it truly comes down to just money, and the Canucks are willing to make Hughes one of the top 5 highest-paid players in the league, then perhaps Vancouver can breathe a collective sigh of relief. But if the decision hinges on what the Canucks can promise him on the ice, a genuine, credible path to winning, a stable organization, and a supporting cast that inspires confidence, then perhaps, just perhaps, we should all start preparing for yet another mass Canucks fan meltdown. Good thing, as history has shown, we've had plenty of practice. The anxiety is real, the stakes are immense, and the silence from Quinn Hughes' camp, even if just a strategic pause, speaks volumes. So, Canucks Nation, what's your gut telling you? Is this just a temporary scare, or are we witnessing the early tremors of a seismic shift? Can the Canucks truly convince Quinn Hughes that their future is brighter than the allure of playing with his brothers on a more stable, promising roster? Share your deepest fears, your most optimistic hopes, and your unfiltered opinions in the comments below. And if this report has you holding your breath, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more urgent updates and passionate analysis as the story unfolds.